All right. So, we're always on the lookout for interesting stuff, and you sent over some information about this children's book,
Uh-huh.
My Strong Mind,
Mm-hmm.
by Niels Van Hove, and it really caught our eye.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to, dig into it.
Yeah, it's a really great opportunity to look at how these ideas, mental strength and stuff, how those are being presented to kids.
Exactly. And that's exactly our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We want to go through the research that you provided about this book and really try to understand, what is it about My Strong Mind that makes it such a valuable tool for, not just understanding, but actually helping kids develop this mental strength.
Yeah, think of this as like a shortcut
Uh-huh.
for, getting to the heart of what this book is all about and why it might be, important or valuable for people.
Okay, cool. So let's jump in.
Right.
So one of the first things that stood out to us was this central character,
Right.
Kate.
Yeah.
And, she seems like a really interesting way to kind of explore these ideas.
Yeah. She's really fascinating. And one of the things that makes her so relatable is that she's not presented as, a child with all these problems or extraordinary, going through extraordinary difficulties. She's a pretty happy, active kid. She's got friends. She enjoys school, pretty much like a lot of kids we all know. Yeah. But what's interesting is that even within this kind of like normal, happy context,
Yeah.
the document points out that she still faces these like everyday challenges, right? At home, at school. It's not like she's immune to those things just because she's generally a happy kid.
And I think that's so key because,
Yeah.
sometimes when we talk about these topics like mental strength or resilience,
Yeah.
it can feel like, oh, that's for kids who are really struggling or,
Yeah.
having a hard time. But this book seems to be saying no, this is for every kid,
Absolutely.
right? These are universal skills.
Yeah, these are skills that everybody needs to develop. And, the document emphasizes that, even these everyday experiences Kate has, like rushing to get ready in the morning, trying to learn a new skill, like doing a cartwheel,
Right.
the vulnerability of show and tell or playing basketball at school or recess, or even just like meeting new kids at lunch and feeling a little bit awkward or unsure.
Yeah.
Like these are all things that are just part of being a kid. And the book is implicitly teaching us through Kate is that, no matter how happy or well-adjusted a kid seems, they're going to face moments where they need these skills, they need resilience, they need to know how to cope.
Yeah, so it's not really about one big dramatic story. It's more about these smaller everyday moments.
That's right. Yeah, My Strong Mind isn't structured like a big adventure story or anything.
Yeah.
It's really smart because it focuses on these small little relatable moments that kids experience all the time. And it's really showing us how Kate uses what the book calls her strong mind and just like a generally positive attitude to get through these little tricky situations that come up.
Okay, so it's almost like a series of little micro lessons.
Yeah. Kind of woven into these everyday situations, in that sense.
Yeah.
So what does this strong mind actually look like in action?
Right.
What are some of the techniques that Kate uses?
So the document outlines a bunch of really practical things that Kate does. For example, when she's learning to do a cartwheel,
Yep.
she sets a goal for herself. And it's interesting how the book shows this because it makes it really clear that it takes time and effort and practice to master something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't just immediately nail it.
Right.
And it's not about being perfect. It's about trying and trying again.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important message for kids because
It is.
so often I think we, maybe unintentionally give them this idea that if they're not immediately good at something, then they should give up.
Yeah.
But this book is saying no, keep trying, you'll get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she also uses this really powerful tool that we all have access to, which is positive self-talk.
Right.
That little voice inside our heads.
Yeah. So she's talking to herself and encouraging herself to keep going even when it's hard. And I think one of the most important things the book does is it shows how to view failure, not as a terrible thing, but as an opportunity to learn and grow.
That's huge.
It is. I mean, it's something that a lot of adults even struggle with.
Totally.
Right. So to introduce that idea to kids at such a young age is, I think, incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I love that.
And there are other techniques, too. She uses visualization.
Oh, wow.
To kind of picture herself solving problems, which can really help build confidence and reduce anxiety. She practices simple breathing exercises when she's feeling overwhelmed or stressed to kind of calm herself down.
Okay.
And she focuses on gratitude, being thankful for the good things in her life and just generally being more mindful
That's really cool. It's like a whole toolkit
Yeah.
of like different strategies that kids can use.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's not just presented in a random way. It's all connected to these core principles that the author calls the 4 C's of mental
Oh
toughness.
yeah, the 4 C's.
Yeah, which is like a really organized way to think about building this resilience.
So let's break that down a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Um, so we've got commitment, control, confidence, and challenge.
Yeah.
So starting with commitment,
Okay.
what does that look like for Kate in the book?
Well, what's really cool about how the book portrays commitment, and I think this is really key for, anyone listening, is that it's not just about setting a goal and that's it.
Right.
It's about understanding that there are going to be bumps in the road.
Yeah.
There are going to be times when you stumble or you make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
So the example in the document about Kate trying to learn a cartwheel is perfect because it shows that real commitment, the kind that leads to mental toughness, is about sticking with it even when it's tough.
Yeah.
And that's a really nuanced way of looking at resilience. It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about being willing to keep going even when things are hard.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's commitment. What about control?
So control in this context isn't about ignoring or suppressing your emotions.
Yeah.
It's about managing them effectively,
Sure.
staying calm when things get tough.
Yeah.
So there's this great example in the document where Kate gets angry about something.
Mm.
And instead of just reacting, she counts to 10.
Oh, that's classic.
Right. It's such a simple strategy.
Yeah.
But it's incredibly powerful because it creates that little bit of space between the feeling and the reaction.
Right. Gives you a chance to think.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just about stopping herself from yelling or whatever.
Mm.
It's about giving herself a moment to choose a more thoughtful response.
That's so important.
It is. And it's teaching kids about emotional regulation, which is a crucial skill.
Absolutely. All right. So we've got commitment, we've got control. What about confidence?
So confidence in the book is really about believing in yourself. Trusting your own abilities and being brave enough to speak up or try new things, even if you're a little bit scared.
Yeah.
So the example of Kate feeling proud after she speaks in front of her class is a great illustration of this.
Mm-hmm.
It shows how stepping outside your comfort zone and succeeding can really boost your confidence.
Yeah.
And that feeling of accomplishment can then fuel future confidence. It creates a positive cycle.
Okay, that makes sense. And then finally, we have challenge.
Right.
And I'm really curious about this one because
Yeah.
often we try to protect kids from challenges. But this book seems to be saying something different.
It is. It's actually encouraging kids to embrace challenges,
Okay.
to see them as opportunities to learn and grow. And this is really about fostering a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So the example of Kate viewing a failed attempt as a chance to figure out what she could do differently next time is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's about shifting the perspective from, I can't do this, to what can I learn from this?
Yeah. I love that it's like reframing these things that we often see as negative into positive.
Exactly. And the document also emphasizes that these 4 C's
Yeah.
aren't just things you're born with or without. It's not like some kids are just naturally confident or committed.
Right.
These are skills that can be developed over time with practice.
That's such an empowering message, I think, for kids.
Yeah, it really gives them agency. It lets them know that they have the power to improve themselves, to build their mental strength.
And the fact that these techniques are backed by science,
Mm-hmm.
like there's research to support their effectiveness,
Right.
I think that adds a lot of credibility too.
It does.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the author of this book, Niels Van Hove.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about him and kind of his motivation for writing My Strong Mind?
Well, it's clear from, just reading about him and his work that he's very passionate about this topic of mental toughness. He's a coach in this area, which suggests that he has a deep understanding of these principles, not just in theory, but in practice.
Yeah.
And it seems like his main motivation for writing the book was to really equip kids with the tools they need to face life's challenges, with
yeah.
confidence and resilience and all of that.
I always think it's interesting to understand, like, the author's why,
Yeah, it adds another dimension to the work.
Yeah, and in this case, it's really personal because
Uh-huh.
the document mentions that he has 2 daughters, Poppy and Coco, and they were a big inspiration for the book.
Oh,
And some of the situations that Kate faces are actually based on real experiences that his daughters had.
that's so cool.
Yeah, I love that.
It makes it even more authentic,
Yeah, definitely. And My Strong Mind is actually the first book in a series, right?
It is, yeah. The document mentions 2 other books that have come out since then. My Strong Mind 2, The Power of Positive Thinking,
Okay.
and My Strong Mind 3, I Set Goals and Work Hard to Deliver Them.
That's great. So he's really continuing to explore these themes,
Yeah, it suggests a real dedication to helping kids develop these skills.
and his work goes beyond this series, too.
It does, yeah. He's also written a book called How I Beat My Bully,
Oh.
which tackles another really important issue that a lot of kids face. And he also has a website called mentaltoughness.online,
Okay.
which offers more resources and information about this topic. So it seems like he's really committed to this work.
Yeah, it paints a really nice picture of somebody who's, both knowledgeable and passionate about this.
Yeah,
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about this specific book, but it seems like it's part of a larger trend
it is.
in children's literature, right?
Absolutely. The document points out that My Strong Mind is part of this bigger movement in kids' books
Yeah.
that's really focusing on these themes of mental strength and resilience and confidence and positive thinking.
Hmm.
And I think it reflects a growing understanding that these inner resources are just as important for kids as, you know, their academic skills or their physical health.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, it's all connected.
Okay, so are there any other books that come to mind that explore similar themes?
Yeah, there are a few that are mentioned in the document, like A Little Spiot of Optimism,
Okay.
which is all about helping kids develop a more positive outlook and manage their thoughts.
Yeah.
And then there's Perseverance Makes Me Stronger, which is specifically about building self-belief and dealing with frustration and setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then Confidence is My Superpower.
Oh, I like that title.
Right, it's a great title, and it's all about, helping kids feel more confident and self-assured.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is that while all of these books address similar themes, they each have their own unique approach, you know?
Hmm.
So, like, A Little Spiot of Optimism is really focused on helping kids manage their thoughts and feelings,
Yeah.
while My Strong Mind takes a broader approach with the 4 Cs and provides kind of a more comprehensive framework for building mental toughness.
So it's like different tools for the same job.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. And it's just really encouraging to see so many books addressing these topics.
Yes, it is.
It really shows how much more awareness there is now about the importance of mental and emotional well-being for kids.
It does. I think we're starting to see a real shift in how we think about these things, and that's a good thing.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into My Strong Minds,
Yeah.
what would you say are the biggest takeaways, both for us and for our listeners who are now learning about this book?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that the book uses these really relatable everyday situations from Kate's life
Mm-hmm.
to illustrate these practical techniques for building mental strength.
Yeah.
It's not just talking about abstract concepts, it's showing how these ideas actually play out in real life.
Yeah.
And I think the 4 Cs framework is a really brilliant way to organize all of this information,
Totally.
commitment, control, confidence, challenge.
Yeah, it's easy to remember.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest takeaway is that mental strength isn't something you're either born with or you're not. It's a skill set that can be learned and developed over time.
And I think that's such an important message for kids to hear,
Yeah.
because it gives them a sense of control over their own well-being.
Yeah, exactly. It's empowering.
So for those of you listening, we'd love for you to think about these 4 Cs
Yeah.
and maybe reflect on your own experiences, either from your childhood or from observing kids in your life.
Right.
And think about which of these Cs resonates most with you
Yeah.
and how you might be able to apply these concepts to help kids, develop these strengths and become more resilient.
Yeah.
It's definitely something worth pondering. So thanks for joining us today on this deep dive into My Strong Mind.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And we'll catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.